This is Two Teachers Chat with your hosts, Brenda McCrate and Peggy Wilbur.
Brenda.
Okay, we are Two Teachers Chat. So, do you have a question for me today?
Take a sip and then I'll ask it. What do I do as a teacher or professional in a building when a student reveals? Usually it's the student is very unhappy by the time they reveal that they are unhappy with a different staff member, with another person that they're having difficulty with.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm going to kind of assume that this means you're the classroom teacher. So you're living with this child a lot, or maybe
Or
in
specials.
high school.
Yeah.
Maybe in high school you're their homeroom, or you're just a teacher that they really trust, and so you kind of find out about it. Now, and of course, you know, there's serious issues that you would immediately go to your principal and talk about, you know, if there was any kind of abuse or something.
Right.
But we're kind of talking about something is ticking this child off
Yes.
with this particular staff
Yeah.
member. And perhaps it's a two-way street, because we
Yes.
know children push our buttons, and
Right.
we all have different buttons.
Right.
You know, I always tell people, you got to set your rules, because you have buttons that get pushed that I never would, and vice versa, you know. But for example, I have a story, okay? So one of my teachers had this kid, and it seemed like every third day he did not want to go to specials. He would be doing fine beforehand, he'd be working. He wasn't a group worker type of kid, but you know, she knew enough to kind of let him be, and he'd work together when he wanted to and kind of do his own thing. Very, very bright child.
Right.
And quite a perfectionist. And so it ended up being, I mean, I asked her at one point, I said, so is it the same day, you know, the same specials teacher? Turned out it was art. Every time it came up, he would throw a hissy and he wouldn't go, and there was a big call to parents and all this stuff. And so I suggested, I still honestly don't know if they followed through or not, because by then other people were involved, you know, the principal and the social worker and the whole 9 yards. But I suggested that she go talk to the art teacher. Go to the source, you know, say, when this kid's in your class, what's happening? You know, maybe the art teacher just wanted that kid, who was kind of an out of the box kid, to follow all the directions so that the picture would come out the way it was supposed to. And the kid didn't, and this could cause conflict. Maybe it was that the poor child wasn't very good at art, and so they struggled, and him being a perfectionist led to him not wanting to go, you know. And then you get to talk about, you know, well, how can we handle this? Because he can't just skip art every third day. And I have planning, and as a classroom teacher, you know, kind of need my planning every day. And how can we work this out? Can we talk to him? You know, all of those things. And again, it's that growth mindset that we've talked about before. Nobody can be perfect at everything. And perfectionists usually have a fixed mindset. But first you start, you know, what's going on here with the kid? Can you get down? And when they're calm, you know, you get them calm again, and then you talk. And yes, it is the most irritating thing in the world to be ready for that math lesson at 12:30 and have to spend 10 minutes of your math lesson dealing with the garbage that happened out at recess. But, you know, it's worth it.
Would you do it then, or would you do it like maybe say to the child, I'm going to listen to you right after this lesson, and I'm going to get the other students doing this, and then we will talk. Can you hang in there for a few minutes?
That's a great thing to do if you think the kid can handle it.
Work. Yeah.
If you think they're just going to blow on you anyways, you know, it's a judgment call.
Yeah.
You know the kid.
Yeah.
Also, if it's the consistent thing, like it's every single day.
Right.
Like I noticed a child, and every single day he blew up at exactly the same time. And it was always when they walked in from recess. So it wasn't any staff member's fault. at all. It was just that he either didn't have friends or he got picked on or something was happening at recess. So finally, we started to let him go eat lunch, and then he would come in and visit with the social worker for a few minutes, and she would take him out to recess, get him playing with somebody who was kind of nice and lovely. And you know, it got better. But back to staff members, you know. So you've talked to the kid, and either they haven't told you, or they've told you, but they've told you their side. So then, of course, you go to the staff member, and you say, very kindly, assuming that it really isn't their fault, because let's face it, 90% of the time it isn't, okay? And you say, so Joe just comes back from your class anxious and kind of unsettled. You know, you never say he comes back mad at you or whatever. Just he comes back a little anxious and unsettled. Can you tell me what is happening with him during your class? So it's never, what are you doing to that, to my baby, my little child? Because, you know, they become ours, if in elementary school at least. And, you know, sometimes even in high school.
So you're not accusing
You're
the
not,
staff
never,
member.
ever.
No.
You go to them and you say, you know, Joe comes back, he's real anxious and unsettled after your class. Can you tell me what's happening with him? Because it could be an interaction with another child. So it could be as simple as Joe's not sitting next to Susie anymore because the art teacher or the music teacher didn't know that Joe and Susie should never sit next to each other because they play off and they get in trouble, and then Joe gets upset that he's in trouble, but you know, so maybe they didn't know that, and all you have to say is, oh yeah, I never let him sit next to Susie in my class, and the teacher will go, okay, he's moving next time, cool. That's great, you know. Maybe it's something that Joe is doing that doesn't bother you an iota. He does it all day long. And it's driving them crazy. I've had this. I had a kid who blurted. I mean, bless his heart. Just, you know, vomit mouth there. You know, and always on topic.
Right.
And always, he was just
But
so
robbed
enthusiastic.
the other students of their opportunity to give answers.
So we went and we just kind of let him blurt and went on. And the other kids talked, you know, they kind of tuned him out so that if he was saying the right answer, it didn't matter. They got a chance. And I did, of course, a lot of pair share and a lot of turn and talk to your neighbor because that takes that blurty part out. But still, by the end of the year, you know, he was still doing it. But compared to many of the other problems he walked in the door with, which we got all under control, blurting was not a problem with me or my couple of teammates. But, you know, maybe another teacher that's
and
just
specials.
driving them nuts. They only have 45 minutes or half an hour or whatever. You know, so you can have that talk. You can say sweetheart to the child, not the teacher.
Okay.
When you go to so-and-so's class, this is driving them crazy. Now, we don't want to drive Mrs. So-and-so crazy because we like her, don't we? And you like music or you like art. Yeah, I really do. And she's sweet, isn't she? Yeah, except, you know, when I blurt out, she kind of gets mad. I said, well, you know, we all have buttons and you're pushing hers. So you got to work extra careful. And I'm going to assign you a buddy because I know Johnny sits next to you and he never blurts. So when you start to blurt, I'm going to tell him, tap you on the knee. Just a quick, and I'm going to tell Mrs. So-and-so that this is happening. So she's not surprised that he's touching you, you know. And he's going to go, boom, 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 and tap you on the knee. And you know you got to do this. Even if you do this, she won't care.
Right.
Because she won't be blurting.
Right.
You can talk to kids like that. You know, I had kids when we traded teachers around. I had the humming class. I think because I'm a hummer. So we hummed all day. We had that little sound in our voices and nobody cared. And they were going to the teacher that would drive her out of her mind. And I just said, whatever you do when she comes, there can be no humming.
That's right.
When she comes into our room, no humming.
Do it.
And make sure we don't have piles of stuff because that drives her crazy too. And when I went into her class, she told him, she said, you can leave piles out. You can hum. Mrs. McRae doesn't care.
Right.
She'll go with it. It'll be good.
Right.
You know, have a little freedom because I'm not here.
Right.
And they enjoyed their freedom. And then when she came back, they were fine because kids can get that. They know.
That's right. They can code switch.
They can code switch. They can learn rules depending on the situation. We know that about kids,
Kids'
you know,
brains.
and actually it's good for them because then they can learn rules for home, rules for school, rules for
Rules
work.
for this teacher,
you know, this teacher,
and
that
it's
teacher.
a good
Yep.
memory practice.
Yep, it is.
absolutely.
But starts with communicating and, you know, always going in assuming the best about that other staff person. You know, I don't care what you've heard. I don't care, you know, you go in and you say, so what's happening with the child? Not, what are you doing to Joe?
Right.
You know, never, ever, ever, because
And we
they're
never talk to
a
any
professional.
other staff member about
No.
what's going
No.
on ever.
No.
That's just
No.
professional.
And please, we had this norm under my best principals, and I had many, and I was blessed. But the norm is go to that other person first. And even if it's a personal thing, but if it's about your kid, go to that other person first, ask them about it, find out the truth, you know, both sides. And only if they are totally unwilling to cooperate or help do you go to your principal.
Or if the child is, escalating because the situation is just getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
But
Well, thank you.
you're welcome.
And time for more coffee.
Okay.
Thank you for watching 2 Teachers Chat. Until next time, and remember, teachers touch lives forever.